Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Apxche's overview or review, right, of the upcoming balance changes for Marvel Rivals, right? So in the last video of like this I did, y'all voiced that y'all wanted me to make sure that I was reading out the balance changes so people who weren't physically watching it but just listening were still able to get the information. So with that being said, we're gonna do that today, right? So first thing is first, Captain America. So Captain America has been pretty annoying, so he's getting a nerf. What a surprise, right? They are reducing his health from 600 to 575. They're increasing the delay of his shield recovery from 2 seconds to 4 seconds after his shield, right? And they're increasing the energy cost of his ult from 2,800 to 3,100, right? So what does this mean for Captain America? What this means for Captain America is that they're going to lower his health, right? Obviously, and they're going to increase the cooldown of his shield usage. What does that do? So obviously we know that when his shield's up, it reflects damage. He can't really be hit from the front, yada, yada, yada. So by increasing the gap when he drops his shield and lowering his health, they're basically, what their goal is to basically increase the openings that he has to punish him, right? Me personally, I would have just nerfed the shield, but I can understand how they want to go more for his health and not for his shield. At the end of the day, I think these are good changes. He needed something, right? Because he can't have that much mobility and that much survivability. One of them has to go because his mobility was so free, right? Like, we can look at Venom, and yeah, I agree, Venom, is a strong character too and could use tweaks, but Venom's playstyle is very, very one-dimensional, if I say so myself. Just due to the fact that, like, he's very predictable. You kind of know what he's going to do. Cap's a little different, right? Like, as a Cap, you can dive the backline, but you can also, you can push freaking Punishers, right? Directly, even when he has unlimited ammo. Or like when, well, compared to Venom, where you do that and you probably get 3 tapped, right? So there's some things that they do share some issues, but I think the shield kind of makes it so that Cap needs different adjustments. So W change for Cap. Number 2, Doctor Strange, right? So Doctor Strange has been getting nerfed after nerf after nerf. Did he deserve it? Sure. I still think he's a great character. Me personally, I feel like his only issue is the fact that he can still anti-heal himself. Other than that, I'm not really mad about anything else. But what they are doing to kind of increase his strength is they're reducing his damage fall off from 10 meters to 20 meters, right? In the terms of it did, when you went from 10 to 20 meters, your damage went from 100%, obviously, to 60%. Now they're turning it from 60 to 80, so you're going to be doing more damage at range, which is good because it kind of gives you a little bit more poke, especially because he's a projectile, so it's already a little bit harder to hit all of your daggers. At least you'll be getting a little bit more damage for the ones you do hit, right? So and then I don't think I read it already, but they're removing the range of damage fall off of his explosion, which is nice, which means that no matter if they're at the edge of your range or right next to you, they're going to take the full damage no matter what. So yeah, good change for Strange, but I'm really so upset about the anti-heal thing because he's the only tank that just, it feels counterintuitive to like him have that passive or that passive debuff when you want him to go fight things. So yeah, Emma Frost, right? So Emma Frost, very strong character, has to be strong for certain things in this game. You nerf her, a lot of things kind of just run rampant. Wolverine, and other flankers, right? So with that being said, they wanted to buff her at the same time because she had this issue where she just did not have enough range, right? So what they're doing for her is they're increasing the range of her primary fire in her standard form from 15 meters to 18 meters, right? Which is cool because there was plenty of times where I'm trying to fight things and I just can't reach them when I feel like I should. But since they're giving her that, they're also nerfing her by decreasing her shield value from 500 to 400. They're increasing the cooldown of her grab in diamond form from 5 seconds to 6 seconds, which I believe will only allow you to grab somebody once per diamond form. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure with the 5-second one you can get 2. With the Carbon Crush, now it's at being at 6 seconds. I think to get 2, you have to immediately use your dash to be able to get that second one at the last second. And then they're also decreasing the damage not only from the kick itself from Diamond Form, but the wall splat as well. So the kick's going to do from 50 damage to 40, so it's getting decreased by 10. And the wall splat is going from 100 damage to 90. So it's still going to be really lethal, but it's just going to be a little bit less lethal, right? So I think it's good changes for Emma. They kind of brought her down a little bit while also giving her something that makes her feel a little bit better, which to my standards, it's okay. I think she's a character, like I said before, that has to be decently strong, because if not, a lot of things are just going to be really oppressive and really annoying. Groot, our favorite tree colossus, right? So Groot has been good for a very long time. Groot needs a nerf. In my opinion, I think the nerf that Groot needs is you take his big wall, when you initially place it, let it start at like 400 or 500 health, and then over time it'll ramp up to that 700, so that it can start really weak or weaker, and then if they don't break it, it gets stronger over that time period. Reason why I like that is because it kind of gives Groot the ability to still have a strong wall without it just being you can just place it in front of anybody, and now they got to basically destroy a tank to get to you, right? Or to get to their teammate again. There's not too many characters that are great at breaking his walls, so his walls are, they're strong. But what they're doing to make his walls less effective, they're taking his Vine Strike walls from doing 70 damage to 65. Little tweak, but a little bit can go a long way. I would have probably liked to see it go a little bit more down, but I can see them also not trying to outright kill the character. And then they're also increasing the cooldown of his big wall, his iron wood wall, from 8 seconds to 12 seconds. Just so that he has to be more mindful about how he uses the wall, as well as, it's just going to kind of, same thing with Captain America, going to create more opportunities to burn down the Groot. Good changes for Groot. Magneto's getting a little tiny buff. What they're doing is they're taking his right click, his ring fire, whatever you want to call it, from 4 stacks to 3 stacks. What does that mean? That means it's going to charge faster, right, to full charge. And when it's at full charge, it unlocks that the ability to crowd control, the ability to knock back. So what this means for Magneto is Magneto is going to be able to get more CC, as well as just more damage from his right click, which is nice. Because the stack thing having 4 kind of felt a little too long. Even though Mag's a good character, didn't necessarily need a buff. It's a quality of life change, so I'm cool with this. Thor, right? Odin's son. So Thor is getting a little change. So as we know, his abilities take Thor Force. What they're doing is they're adjusting Hammer Throw, right, to no longer use Thor Force, but it will give you Thor Force. So if y'all remember, Hammer Throw was like any of his other abilities for the most part. You throw the hammer, it gives you shields, right? It consumes Thor Force, right? And it basically would be a 2 seconds cooldown, so you could just spam it, right? Every 2 seconds, spam the Hammer Throw, right? They're taking away. They're taking that away. So no more shield gain from Hammer Throw, I'm pretty sure. And it's now on a 6-second cooldown, but it gives you Thor Force. So you're gonna be able to use lightning runes more. What I'm getting from these changes is that they want Thor to be less kind of like spammy in terms of like your dashes and your right clicks, and they want him to use more lightning, right? They want him to have more opportunities to have that big burst of damage. They want Thor to be kind of like just like a bursty tank, more so than like a brawly tank. So like I said, they're adjusting his hammer throw, and they're decreasing the shield value you get when using Thor Force, which sucks because now you're only getting Thor Force usage from your awakening as well as your dash. So you're getting less sustain basically. So he's gonna have more opportunities to use his lightning form, but he's gonna be a lot less survivable. So like I said, they're taking away Thor's ability to brawl in a sense, but they're making him more bursty. So your goal is going to be kind of to follow people in, to just use your lightning to create space, right? Use your abilities to get it back and just kind of spam it out, which could honestly make him a really dangerous off-angly tank. So we shall see. The next change is going to come to Hawkeye. Not a fan of this. To kind of make this one a little faster because, whatever. Arrows do more damage. Blast arrows do more damage. Increasing the maximum focus. So basically it takes a little bit longer to fully charge your arrows, but they charge faster, as well as the damage amp doesn't fall off as fast. The reason why I don't like buffing Hawkeye is I think Hawkeye is one of those characters where as long as he has the ability to one-shot people, he's he's technically, on paper, he's strongest DPS in the game, so we should not be buffing him. So I'm not really a fan of this buff. I'm really not. Hela got buffed in the sense of they're not giving her more damage, but they're giving her more opportunities to do damage. So they're giving her 2 extra ammo from 8 to 10, which is going to kind of give her more opportunities to hit shots, right? Things like that. Kind of take some weight off her shoulders in the sense of missing shots, right? Because you have those extra 2. So Hela buff. Hela's already a really strong character, one of the strongest characters. Buffing her doesn't make sense, but it also does because I feel like Hela's one of those characters that has to keep certain things in check, kind of like Emma Frost. So by having Hela strong, it's still a high skill character that is rewarding to play, but also shuts down things based off of skill. Human Torch got a nerf. Even though I thought the issue wasn't Human Torch, but it was the Sue, which I really think is the truth. He's basically getting a nerf to his primary fire. So per cluster, his fire cluster, instead of it being 7 damage per one of those little fireballs, it's 6, right? So they're reducing it a little bit. So if it's like 8 clusters, that's 8 damage per shot that's being removed, right? They're increasing the charge speed of Blazing Blast from 2 seconds to 3 seconds. Oh, yeah. So I'm assuming that's just his resource meters and take a little bit longer to fill up. And then the shield that he gets from slamming down is getting reduced. So he's going to be less survival, basically. And he's going to, and he's not going to be able to slam as often. So what they want from Human Torch is they want him to just not be able to kind of like just survive. Because unlike other flyers who have to slowly go to the ground, he can instantly get to the ground. So when he gets low, he just leaves, right? So they just want to be a little less survivable, do a little bit less damage, and they think he'll be fine. Which I don't think he needed the nerfs. I think it quite literally was the Sue team up and all that. But hey, man, not gonna complain. If it makes people stop banning him as much, because holy moly, ban something else. All right, Iron Fist. So Iron Fist, right? He's taking a hit to his damage and survivability. It's not even a hot take. I think this is a bad change. I think Iron Fist was in a position to where he was really annoying to deal with. He was decent, but he was not like overpowered. But what I think is, since he's an auto aim character, melee character, very, in this sense, not hard to master when it comes to using his kit. But like, okay, he's too easy, getting too much value. So what they're doing to Iron Fist here, right, is they're reducing how much health he can actually convert. So getting a max of 200 shielding, overshield, right? He's only going to get 175, right? And they're also reducing the dash distance of his kick. Interesting. They're making it take longer for him to build up his block. So I get the nerfs, but I'm not really the biggest fan. I think Iron Fist kind of just falls down really hard. Which sucks because Iron Fist doesn't have like a niche counter pick, in my opinion. So it's not like, oh, this is a good place for Iron Fist. It was kind of like Iron Fist was one of those characters where it's like, okay, he's a good character, so we can pull him out. I don't really know how he's going to really fit in the meta anymore. Iron Man is getting some tweaks where they're reducing his blast damage and his burst survivability, which is crazy because I feel like I didn't see that much Iron Man. So for him to get a nerf is really interesting. I wonder what they're basing this off of. But they're removing Iron Man from the Gamma team up, right? And they're basically giving him a team up with Ultron, which is cool. And then they're just kind of nerfing his damage from his third repulsor blast, so the big double hand one. They're reducing that damage, and they're decreasing the spell damage of it as well. And they're also reducing the bonus health you get from using your amp from 100 to 50, which I freaking love, because it was really annoying to just fight an Iron Man who was getting a damage buff, and his health was going up, so it's like I had to hit a whole extra 1 to 2 shots. So Iron Man changes, Namor, right? So they're talking about they want Namor's defenses to be a little worse, but they want his squids to be stronger, which is interesting, right? So they're increasing the cooldown, right, of his, I believe, his shield from 15 seconds to 20, so you're going to have more an opening to, dive the Namor. They're increasing his ultimate size of the inner and the outer circle to make it easier to hit, but they're tuning down the damage, so that's less punishing. And then they're also adjusting the damage fall off for these squids to do basically the squid's gonna do more. Yeah, they're gonna do more damage at range. I don't know how I feel about that. I feel like the more it was supposed to be that character that survives dives, and you're making it harder for him to survive dives more frequently. So we'll see how that goes. Psylocke. Psylocke is getting a nerf to her damage and her survivability. So can't be invis for as long, going from 3 seconds to 2 seconds, and they're decreasing the shuriken retrieval damage from 14 to 12 per hit. So she's gonna have less burst damage, and she's not gonna be invisible as longer. I think Psylocke's a character that like is super strong. I think invis characters are always oppressive, because especially at lower elos, because oh no, I can't see them. So yeah, I think a Psylocke nerf's fine. I think this is fine. Squirrel Girl is getting some love, giving her more ammo. They're decreasing the cooldown of her mammal bond from 12 seconds to 10 better. So basically, she's getting some quality of life changes. She's getting some ammo, and she's gonna be able to use her abilities a little bit more often. So just a W Squirrel Girl buff. People complain because they think she's a spam character, which she kind of is, but I think Squirrel Girl is one of those characters where she can actually get a lot of value if you're just good at projectiles. As I played her more, there's definitely been times where I'm like, wait, this character is like really good in a situation, right? So she definitely has her situations. I think she's a bad duelist against like things like Hela or Hawkeye or whatever, right? But I think she's really good at like kind of harassing tanks and like harassing dive, right? So if you don't have an issue with like a backliner, I think she's really good at kind of just making it so that the enemy dive, like they make a mistake, they die, they blow up, right? So Squirrel Girl buffs, W. StarLord. They're reducing how often StarLord gets his ultimate by increasing the charge, obviously. But what they're doing is they're increasing how far away you can shoot people from, and they're giving him more damage at range. So they're basically just buffing StarLord, but they're just letting you get it less, which I think is fine. Storm. They're just they're just making her ult stronger. No, okay. All right. I mean, I don't know how I feel about that, but it's whatever. I guess because people realize that like with the Johnny team up, like you kind of just needed it to kind of burst through things. So maybe they realize like, hey, maybe we should tone it up a little bit to kind of give more opportunities for her teammates to follow up on that ult. But hey, we'll see. Okay, change, I guess. The Punisher. Punisher is getting a boost to his mid to long range damage. And they're buffing his ultimate, right? So what they're doing with his ultimate is they're reducing the slow rate of the ult from 20% to 10% when he's not firing, so he's going to get slowed a lot less. And from 40% to 30% when he's firing, right? So basically, Punisher's going to be moving a lot faster. And then when it comes to just increasing his damage, he's going to be moving faster in ult. And when it comes to increasing his overall damage, they're going to give him more ammo, right, in his AR. And then, yeah. So they're giving him more ammo and a little bit more damage, right? So he's gonna feel a little bit better, especially when fighting things at range, right? Moving on to Jeff the Land Shark, right? So Jeff, I thought was a great character to begin with, but now he's getting a little bit of buffs, right? So they're trying to really they're trying to unreinforce the DPS Jeff gameplay, and they're trying to reinforce him as a support, which I get behind. So what they're doing to Jeff, right, is they're allowing his healing beam to now damage enemies, which is funny because I've been preaching that for a while. And it can also heal allies. So if you're shooting allies, it'll heal them and it'll go through them and it'll hit the first enemy. Which will allow you to heal their damage at the same time, which is pretty cool. I wish it would have kind of just pierced all the enemies, but I kind of get it. Like imagine like a water spray. If it's hitting something, it's kind of spreading out, right? So it's not really kind of piercing. So I guess how they're using that to kind of justify that, which it's fine. So yeah. They're also reducing how much it can heal because of the fact that it does damage, because it would just he already heals at like an ultimate tier level. I like to tell people, but if they would have left it how it was, he would have built ult so fast that he would have been ulted basically every fight. They're reducing the bubbles. It says max recharges per 3 seconds per charge. Right? Change Aqua Burst to a charge ability. His damage ability is gonna knock people up now? What in the world? That sounds really weird. So if you fully so you're like you're basically gonna be like doing big hawk to us. You know, so that you can do little spits that don't really do much, or you can charge it up and you can do more damage. I'm assuming, and knock people up. So that should be interesting. An interesting change. And healing bubbles, instead of it being going from one-time healing to healing over time, you're going to increase the healing amount from the previous instant 85 to 120 over 40. Oh wow! So what that's going to do is that's really going to. Dang, that sucks because now he's losing a little bit of burst healing. But I think the reason why they're doing that is not because see, and this is where I think they're messed up. They should have allowed the bubble to insta heal and allies, but not yourself. You know what I'm saying? Because what was happening was Jeff was being able to throw bubbles down and just brawl because he could insta heal himself for however much health the bubbles were around him, right? Which was really impressive, right? So they're just like I said, they're really trying to reinforce or unreinforce that playstyle by just taking away all the strengths of it. So it's gonna hurt your teammates too, but I can see why they did it. Uh, when he goes under the ground now, it has an energy cap, which means you can't stay on the ground forever, which is cool. Yeah, this is really good. I hate the fact that he can stay on the ground forever. It was really annoying. So I'm glad they're making that change. His ultimate ability is going to grant 45 health per second as bonus health up to. Okay, so now not only can you heal allies, but you can overheal them, which is cool. All right, a little buff, nothing too crazy, but Jeff's getting increased damage reduction when he's taking a critical hit from 50% to 70%. And I think is cool because he's gonna not be playing so much as a DPS. So if you're gonna take away his other survivability, they're kind of like power shifting it to just his base form, so that he's not like just up down, right? And they're making it take a little bit longer to get his ultimate, which is fine. So it went from 4,000 to 4,500 when it comes to his charge. It's fine though. That being said, moving on to Luna Snow. So, Luna Snow, everything got boosted her combat prowess, right? While slightly decreasing her ultimate frequency. So they're giving her healing and damage amount, a buff from her primary fire. And they're adding a new effect to Absolute Zero, which is her freeze. So grants 50 bonus health per enemy hit. No, that's her clap. That's her clap. So now you're going to be just getting way more heat sustained from your clap. So not only are you going to get sustained from using the ability, but you're going to get even more from hitting them. It's going to really allow you to kind of just survive dives more, as well as just be extremely brawly with the character now. And then they're making her ult take longer to build. Honestly, I think that's just not the case. I think they're not the right nerf. I think you need to just make it not last long. And I think most people can agree on that. So yeah, weird changes for Luna in terms of her ultimate. Everything else, it's an okay change, but I don't think we need to be making basically the best support in the game even better. Rocket Raccoon. They're trying to. They changed his team ups, right? So no more ammo overload for Punisher, but now Penny's gonna get it. And if y'all want to see how that works, y'all can go watch the video on that. But they're also reducing his direct healing amount from 55 to 50 when it comes to his, little heal amp. Because people didn't realize you could double hit it. In a sense, if you shot the floor and it hit them at the teammates at the feet, so it would hit their feet and then it would hit them again on the way up. I'm not really sure how that works, but it worked. So they're just gonna reduce that a little bit. So those have been the balance changes for this upcoming patch, right? Hopefully you guys enjoyed my breakdown and enjoyed my thoughts on certain things. And if y'all have any opinions as well, please leave them down below, because if I missed anything, or if y'all just have a unique outlook on something, I would love to hear it, because I'm really big on limit testing and really figuring out what's really good and what really wasn't that big of a deal, right? So without further ado, hopefully you guys have a great morning, afternoon, night, wherever you may be, right? It's your boy Coach Apxche. We're gonna get out of here, and can't for this patch, man, and I can't wait for Ultron. I know y'all can't either, right? So yeah, take care, everybody.